Welcome to episode 14 to Business Matters. This is the Eau Claire Chamber of Commerce podcast. We're coming to you from the Win Technology Studio, and we also want to make sure we thank our media sponsor, Royal Credit Union. Today we have a special guest for you. Kathy Wright is here to talk about all of what's going on with where Country Jam is moving to, really becoming a bigger thing than just Country Jam. So we want to talk about that and how it's going to impact Eau Claire more than maybe just 3 to 4 days as it has in the past. So Kathy, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
So give us a little background on who you are first and how did you get so connected to Country Jam?
So my really strong answer to that is just dumb luck. It's kind of funny. I was a geriatric social work major in college and was working, paying my tuition by working at the country club. And I met the owners of the festival that were out golfing one day, and they said, "Hey, you should come work for us. You can meet all the stars." And I said, "Great. What does it pay? I have tuition to pay." So I worked for them for several summers and finished my degree, went into social work, realized it wasn't my calling. And at the same time, realized I really liked this goofy festival world that there was. And so I flipped careers quickly and came over to work for Country Jam, started in sponsorship and marketing back in 1999. And after a couple years that I worked for them in college, so in 99 came on full-time in sponsorship and marketing, and then just kind of continued to add things to my plate as the years went along, and took a break for a couple years while my kid was little and came back in 2019 as the general manager of the festival.
And kind of jump ahead, but we'll come back, so you've been there all these different years. What have you seen changed as far as the festival? Like, when you started out to what it is today?
That's crazy because I keep saying that nothing has changed, but everything is different. Probably our biggest change was really the rise of country music as a whole.
Okay.
So, when we started acts, our headliners, we paid them $200,000, and, now you can't touch anybody for under $1 million. So the price of our acts really has changed dramatically, and really that's become just a reflection of how popular country has become. So when we started in this business, you might see a country act come to the lacrosse center or a smaller venue. I think the first real country act to ever play Target Center was Garth, but then maybe Reba, the first person to really bring a tour to those areas. And so when we started in this business, country music artists didn't sell out football stadiums.
Okay.
They sold out smaller venues. Then they moved to like Xcel Energy Center or Target Center. And, now they're selling out full stadiums in a matter of minutes.
Right.
So, the popularity of country has changed so dramatically. So now those artists are able to go sell out US Bank Stadium. And so we're now competing with a much larger market than we ever had been before.
Okay.
So that's probably one of the biggest changes on our end. And, the consumer has changed. We used to be 4 days. RIP Sunday of Country Jam. I never want to see it again. But those are some long 4 days. But, the guest has changed quite a bit. We still have that hardcore 3-day music fan, and we love them, and we're so thankful for them. But then we have a ton of people that are like, look, I can only go 1 day.
Sure.
But what kind of experience can I have for 1 day?
Okay.
So when I first started, you only could buy VIPs in 3-day packages. If you couldn't come all 3 days, too bad, go sit in the back. And now, we do offer a lot of options for people if they just want to come for 1 day and have a really great experience for that day.
Okay. So the pricing has changed. So how do you go about choosing your stars? And how much choice do you have in it versus who's available and you have to take?
Correct. All of it. So,
Okay.
It's just a big puzzle that we put together every fall. And we have an agent in Nashville who's amazing that we work directly with. And so, first thing first, who's touring? And who's touring stadiums, because if they're touring stadiums, they're not going to play us.
Okay.
Because the show looks different.
Oh,
the stadium show is completely laid out different than a festival show. And again, what's different is in 1999 when we had Brooks and Dunn or Reba, they just did the same show wherever they went. And now they have an indoor show. They have a festival show. They have a stadium show. So they all look different, and they're very well thought through. They're very intentional with their song choices, their placements. there's sets, there's scenes, all of that. So it's, who will even look at a festival date this year? Who's on a festival circuit?
Okay.
Where are they going to be? We haven't had to fight Europe the last couple of years because Europe hasn't been very welcoming since COVID to American touring, so which has benefited us dramatically. Canada being closed for a couple of years helped us too. We kept everybody in our borders, right? Understanding where everyone's going, and we buy our talent on a route. So we work with our agent who has several other clients whose dates are close and around ours. So rather than saying, "Hey, do you want to come to Eau Claire, Wisconsin in July?" He'll say, "Hey, do you want to play Omaha, Nebraska, Twin Lakes, Wisconsin, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and then head on over to the North Dakota State Fair?"
Okay.
So he buys talent for all of them. So we all try and work together. So sometimes you end up with an act that you didn't necessarily want, but like, hey, North Dakota really wants these guys, so can you take them? Because they don't necessarily want Tim McGraw, but you want them. So we all really work together.
Interesting.
Yeah, as putting that all together, and and then budget. Right? Like,
sure.
You think you have a budget, but then all of a sudden, ping, somebody becomes available and you're like, well, let's just move the budget a few zeros over. And so, it's very interesting and really trying to find the best mix because there's so many different subsets within country now that, we have to try and make sure we keep everyone happy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, obviously, as a business, Claire, and one that relies on, a lot of those businesses to support, how have you seen that over the years, both from, just showing up to the sponsorships to all of those different things to physically support what Country Jam has been?
Yeah, it's amazing. The amount of support that we get from our community is unreal. From the people that we ask to come out and work for us for a couple days a year, we try and make it a great experience for them. But, what we ask for the community and also what we can return to it. So we know our festival is a $24 million economic impact to the local community. It's a big weekend.
That's huge.
It's a huge weekend. Hotels, restaurants, gas stations, parks, and we're really working with Visit Eau Claire a lot to encourage people to get out and see our city when they're here as well. Our gates don't open till 1, so there are some lovely brunch spots in town that you need to find. But, the community has continued to be involved with the festival. And there's always just that natural cycle. Like, I've done it for 10 years and it's time to take a little break.
Okay.
But for the most part, there's always kind of that great, comfortable churn in supporters that we have of the festival, or people that just move in and out of those seats.
Yeah.
And I know we have some 30-year seat holders.
Oh my gosh.
That have been there this is the year 30. This is year 33 with our 32nd festival. So locally, we have just a great following and a great support system. And what I love is how welcoming Eau Claire is to everybody that comes here Jam weekend.
Yep.
It's not like, oh no, the waste management, Phoenix was just a mess last weekend with the Waste Management Open and the Super Bowl and Barrett Jackson. And I mean, people of Phoenix are done.
Yes.
They're like, everybody out. Whereas in Eau Claire, I think we're really excited to show off what we do here when our guests come.
So when you look at that crowd of supporters, what is the percentage of people in Eau Claire that are coming versus what are you drawing here? Because I think at times people forget and don't understand that $24 million impact, what that truly means.
So we have about a 33% cut. So 33% of our guest is local and goes home at night.
Okay.
33% camps. So there are some local people that camp because it's an amazing experience to have camping be a part of Jam for you. And then about a third stay in our hotels.
Okay.
And, sometimes that just becomes a logistics issue because our hotels are full.
Yeah.
So once the hotels fill up, then it's like, well, I either need to camp or find somebody to stay with or whatever that looks like. But it's about a third. Okay. So, which is great because we are able to fill all the hotels. We are able to get people downtown and out to the restaurants. And then we have the group that just loves to be at that campsite and spend the weekend. And I was giggling the other day, though, because I think Hy-Vee grocery delivery might be game-changing for a lot of our campers. I mean, I know I would just be like, make my grocery list, and this is my campsite number, and I'll see you soon.
I didn't know they were doing that. Interesting.
Well, they do grocery delivery. It comes to my house all the time.
That's true.
So
okay,
yeah,
I guess I
so I would say, why not deliver to the campground?
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. So, big move. You guys are building your own grounds now and everything. What was the impetus of that? I mean, and how long was that like in the planning to we feel we could grow who we are and really you're going to become the Eau Claire Event District. It's not just Country Jam anymore, but talk a little bit about where did that start to how you got there today?
Well, we had an ownership change in mid 2018. So we had a new group of investors come in, and kind of the first thing they did after their first festival season is said, we've been paying rent for 33 years and building infrastructure on a piece of land we don't own. And that piece of land is also in a floodplain. So we couldn't do anything down there. People are like, oh, you should build a. I'm like, we can't build a.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what you were going to say, we can't build it. So they started to look at really what the future of the festival looks like. So that became like hey, let's find some land. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, if we buy some land, what else could we do? And then it just became the beast, the Eau Claire Event District. And, Rome wasn't built in a day, but the Eau Claire Event District was. So I shout out to Cedar Falls Building Systems because they are generaling a project that is unbelievable. So we sat back and thought about what our community could use.
Okay.
And what we could use. And
Sure.
so we are developing, as you mentioned, what we are now called as the Eau Claire Event District. And it's 160 acres of land that Country Jam happens to take place on.
Okay.
So what that means for us in our future is probably the biggest change for us as a group is that we're building 2 permanent facilities that are going to be out at the Eau Claire Event District. The first being the Crescent, and that is 37,000 square feet, and that it will be a corporate event center, wedding center, anywhere you want to have a party. So that will seat about 630, 640 people at round tables.
Okay.
And it'll have full bar. We have a 10,000 square foot pavilion that's attached to that. So if you're getting married, you can get married under the pavilion and then have all your guests come into the reception. Eventually we'll have gardens out there to be able to get married in. So corporate events, if you've got a big convention, the Wild Turkey Federation, whatever you're involved in,
Sure.
we can host that at our new facility.
Okay.
And something I'm very excited about is that we've partnered with KP Catering, and they are actually moving into that facility. So they will be
That'd be great.
they'll be our on-site catering company. And they'll still do catering. Don't worry, nobody panic. But that operation will be run mostly out of the Crescent of one
Sure.
of our event facilities. So I have neighbors, and now the way I keep thinking is I now have a personal chef.
Ooh,
there
you go.
I don't know that Matt Waters likes that title, but I think somebody's going to be cooking for me on a pretty regular basis. So I'm in. So that's really, really exciting for us. And that facility was very intentional. It actually has a stunning bride's room and groom's room in it. What we're learning about the wedding business is that most weddings all take place in one spot now.
That is really growing fast.
It has. And they want to be able to get dressed there. They want to get ready there. They want to do all the things, be able to go out, do their wedding, come back inside. The whole church at 2, dinner at 5 is kind of over for some people. So we wanted to build something that could accommodate that. And really the wedding market is so strong for Eau Claire becoming a destination wedding.
Yes.
Which sounds kind of, because I think Cancun, right?
Right.
But, Twin Cities brides, $100 a plate's a bargain.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And all their friends have gotten married at the same country club. And so for them to be able to come to Eau Claire and get married at the Crescent, obviously it's much more economical for them. They can throw 10 times the party for half the price.
Yeah.
And so it's not the same place all their friends got married at.
Yep.
So we'll really be looking at drawing from that Twin Cities market for
Okay.
weddings as well. We're at Exit 59. We're not that far away.
Right.
So that's important. And then our second facility we're building out there is called High Country. And that one is 19,000 square feet. I just saw the renderings for it today. It's going to be stunning. It's got beautiful, huge garage doors all the way around. So, we can let the outside in or the inside out.
Okay.
Or it'll be open 365 days a year. You can have weddings. You can have corporate events. We'll also be able to do pop-up concerts in that particular building. So that building's standing room is about 2,300 people.
Oh my gosh.
So, if we want to do a little Chris Cruzy Songwriters Night,
Sure.
those types of things, we can throw those little parties up there.
Okay.
And it has a stunning deck off of it. So it's really going to be a great gift to our community. So, as we look at it, people used to ask me what I used to, You only work 3 days a year. My favorite. And, now we do work 365. Our intention is to have weddings out there every Friday, every Saturday, and probably every Sunday, at least in the summer.
Sure.
And be busy. That facility will be busy on a very regular basis. And we're adding to our festival portfolio.
Okay.
So what was just one festival, 3 days in July, is most likely going to be 2 next summer and possibly 3 by 2024.
So what other festivals are you looking at? What would they, other musical festivals?
Yeah, other music festivals or anything else. That's what I think is so cool about the Eau Claire Event District is that Eau Claire's really just never had a facility like this.
Yeah.
So, we've got 2 massive structures to work out of the Crescent and High Country. We've got 300 campsites with electrical hookup. And 700 campsites, just standard campsites that you can pull your RV into and spend the weekend with us. So it really is set up to do all kinds of different things. I remember back in the 90s when the city hosted the Harley-Davidson annual rally. And we stuck a square peg in a round hole like no one I've ever seen before. I don't know how we pulled this off, but, we were building stages in, ravines, and it was crazy. And so, those are the types of things we'd love to see come back to our community.
Sure.
Because we have the infrastructure there to be able to host something that needs big land. And, we aren't worrying about having to work around Carson Park schedules or, what's happening with the university or some of our other city events, that we can just put everything out there, and our hotels are not that far away.
Right.
So really looking forward to be able to see what else we can do.
Okay.
We always think music because that's what we're good at.
Exactly.
But we don't know what else is out there.
You really created yourself a very clean whiteboard.
Absolutely.
To anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
So as you look at this with 2 different buildings, is that something where you could be doing 2 completely separate events at the same time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They both have separate entrances. They both have separate ways to get in, and they really do have 2 different personalities.
Okay.
Which is kind of fun. So yeah, I can see us having 2 weddings, 2 totally different weddings happening up there, and they're on the opposite ends of the festival site from each other.
Okay.
So it's not like you're going to hear your band or
Right.
I don't know, maybe some wedding crashing going on.
Yeah, well,
you never know.
That's always happened to a certain degree.
Depends what kind of cake
as
they
I
have.
can attest to. So, they're not going to know one more person, so
right.
we can get in there.
Yeah, so, we could have 2 to 3 different things happening on that facility on any given weekend. So, a lot of opportunity.
And so then you talk about the campground. What did you say, 300?
300. So we have 30 campsites that are directly adjacent to the Crescent.
Okay.
And I call those permanent campsites, but there's an asterisk. So those sites have water, sewer, and 50 amp power.
Okay.
Which if you're a camper, apparently that's like the trifecta.
Yep.
And those are directly adjacent to the Crescent, and they can be used in conjunction with that facility.
Okay.
So if you're having a wedding, if you're in town for an event, or there's a huge bass fishing tournament and their banquet is at the facility and 30 people want to set up their campers there, they can do that.
Okay.
As long as it's tied to something at the Crescent. And then the rest of the facility would need to be tied into something on the special event grounds.
Okay.
So the festival site, for lack of a better term. And there are an additional 270 electrical sites there, and then 750-ish standard sites.
Okay. So just to be clear, so can anybody come on just camp?
No.
No. You're coming for an event that's there.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
If you're just running through town on a Tuesday night, we can't accommodate you.
Okay.
So
Right.
The Eau Claire County Fairgrounds actually has some really great electrical sites, which I never even knew about.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a little campground there.
Oh, interesting.
I know. Never knew. I know. Things you learned, right?
There we go. I can go to bed and sleep tonight, hopefully.
Yeah, right.
So what, for you, what are you looking forward through all this? Going through construction, anybody's ever gone through it at any level, you're just like, please get me to the last nail. But when you step back, let's say after Country Jam this year, what are you hoping to see and watch what people walk away from?
I think what I can't wait to see is the look on everyone's face. Like I said, we've had some guests that have been with us for 30 years. They'll call us on a pretty regular basis and ask for an update or to see if we have any pictures. And
okay.
so, we're changing the experience for the guest, but we're not changing it. We're really
Right.
trying to keep it pretty similar and just enhance. And I'm really looking forward to watching people discover something new.
Okay.
And even though it isn't, it's still Country Jam and it's
Yeah.
still what we do. So I think that's something I'm really looking forward to. And, for years, we've always said, whether it's our festival here or the 2 festivals we used to do in Colorado, it was like unpacking and packing every year. We had to move everything out.
Sure.
I have this room full of Rubbermaid bins, and I'm really looking forward to just being able to have a home.
Sure.
And to be able
Interesting.
to look out over the festival site. If I needed to see, do we have power here? I'd have to get in my car, drive to Town Union, get out of the car, look for the power. So really to just be able to look out our window and see what we've built is going to be pretty cool, because our offices will be out there as well.
Okay.
They'll be located in the Crescent. And it really, for years we've said, gosh, if we could do this all over again, imagine how different it'd look. Well, here we go.
Here we go.
So that's, I think, what I'm most excited about, and really to see what, started out as a 3-day gig, what that looks like moving forward for us, the company, the ownership group, and our community.
Sure. So are you anticipating or looking at doing any kind of like an open house or things because again, I haven't gone to a few, not many of these type concerts, but it's people get
The invitation is still out there.
I know it is, Dad. I know it is. And with where I live, my wife and I are coming over on our bikes. But, I've got a lot of friends who go to their thing every single year like yours, and they have their spot where they sit. So are you looking at doing some kind of open house or just having people so they can come out and visually see it before they buy? Or
Well, I would love that, but I just don't think we're going to be ready for that early enough.
Okay.
But yeah, I would love to do that. We'll certainly do it afterwards. We'll
Okay.
invite everybody out to see it and enjoy it, and maybe some sort of community event
Sure.
that we host just as a thank you to everybody. But yeah, I think like legit the day before we're going to be, hammering nails
Still,
and-
yes. Oh, yeah. I did hotels for a long time. It's, you're still slapping something down while somebody's checking into the first room.
Yes.
So,
But, I can tell you, if you go out and you drive down Highway T and take a left on 20th Avenue, you
Oh.
can come and see it yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a monster building right now.
I've been by it several times, and it is fun to watch from the road.
Yes,
it really
and
is.
we have been posting some really fun drone footage and some renderings and stuff on our socials. So take a peek at those too.
Okay.
We just actually got some really cool new drone footage that we're going to narrate here in the next week or so.
So with that, then what is your website they can find all that?
countryjamwi.com.
There we go. See, I haven't slipped that
at
one
you
in there.
marketing
So
like
nice,
crazy.
man. So you've been with Country Jam, you were WAU,
Mm-hmm.
but through that, you've been a very strong partner with the Chamber over all these years. What is the value to you in that relationship?
I think for me, in both places that I've worked, it's been connection.
Okay.
I'm a connection person. The more people I know, the better.
Sure.
If I walk into a room and I don't know somebody, I make sure I know before I leave. It's what I love. And
Right.
so for me, it's really been about connection. It's about finding people in the community and really providing opportunities to have a conversation with somebody that I would have never met in my day-to-day life. So, I think of when I look around our list of contractors that we're working with, I can probably say that 75% of them I've met through the chamber.
Okay.
So I knew them prior to working with them and maybe felt comfortable with looking at their bid or having them be a partner of ours on the project because I maybe sat next to them at a seminar that the
Sure.
chamber did or met them at business after hours. But for me, I can honestly say through committees that I've been on at the chamber and events that we've been involved in, for me, it's just connection. And as you can imagine, when you're only open 3 days a year, things happen that are unexpected. So having that portfolio of connections is very important for us.
Sure.
We had an incident one year where 2 days before the festival, our entire VIP kitchen burned to the ground. So
goodness.
apparently some squirrels got into some wiring and, it was like, okay, now what? And, between the calls I was making to people that I had met in passing and the calls that were coming in to me saying, Kathy, how can we help?
Okay.
Was amazing. And so much of that happened through the chamber. And, we woke up one morning, Wednesday morning, and our people were moving into where we sell all of our entertainer merchandise. And there's a family of skunks living under the building.
Oh.
So, you got to find a skunk trapper.
Sure. Yeah.
because you just
They're not exactly in the yellow pages.
No, they're not. And so, again, you start going through that Rolodex of connection, or you just call the chamber and say,
Sure.
who traps skunks?
Yep.
Now, apparently, you just Google a lot of
Well,
this
yeah,
stuff. But,
hey
that's,
Siri,
yeah. She's like, why are you looking for skunks? And so for me, I would say that was one of my biggest values with the chamber is just being involved in, and we always say this over the years of working with you guys is you get in what you put,
Right.
you get out what you put in.
Yep.
If you don't go to anything, no, you don't meet anybody.
Right.
And if you don't go to any of the seminars, you don't learn anything. So using your chamber partners and learning and opportunities is your growth.
Sure.
And sometimes it's easier to go home and just, put your feet up and watch a little Netflix, but get out and get involved and ask to join a committee. I'm not afraid to raise my hand. Sometimes I push my way into a couple of things over the years, I think, but it's good, and
it helps as an individual, helps you expand.
Absolutely. And learn and understand. I've learned more about businesses. I had no idea who they were or what they're doing through relationships with the chamber. And I think that's what I'm most thankful for.
Okay. You were telling me last year something I guess I would have never thought would take place at during the weekend of Country Jam. You said there are a lot of business owners who come out and talk about business.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that they're there to enjoy, but at the same time they're taking clients, they're taking friends or whatever. I talk a little bit about that because again, as this grows and everything, I don't know if enough people maybe look at that as when they look at their marketing dollars per se, how are we going to thank people or whatever. But I that's something with the concert I had never thought of, but you were really talking how well a lot of people utilize that.
Yeah, I think because we aren't that shed or that stadium, you think about if you go to Lambeau Field and you look at who owns all the suites, they're hosting guests, they're hosting clients, top clients, and our VIP experience is second to none. So we do have quite a few of our VIP seat holders that will bring a different client every day. You can split those tickets up so you can, if you buy a 3-day VIP, you get a Thursday, a Friday, and a Saturday.
Okay.
So Thursday I'm going to take, if you're a banker, Thursday I'm going to take one of my customers, Friday I'm going to take one of my customers, and Saturday I'm bringing my wife because she likes Tim McGraw. So the ability to host clients is huge. Our garden decks, which are new in the last 4 years, there's a ton of business that gets done up there. That's a connection. And years ago, when I was at WEAU, Terry McHugh used to always say, Thursday night at Country Jam is business after hours. Like if you're not there working your book of business, and no, you're not walking out and handing out business cards, but it's connection.
Yeah.
And running into a lot of people that you don't see very often. But I mean, I actually physically can't go into VIP because I'll never get out. So I always take the back way, much to a lot of people's dismay. So like, you need to be in VIP talking to people. I'm like, then I can't run this festival. But it's very true. There's a lot back there, and people, that you may just see in passing or don't have an opportunity to spend a lot of time with. I mean, there are people I know I am going to see every year at Jam.
Okay.
And I think we counted the other day, we have 30 CEOs that own VIP seats. So, even if there's somebody you've tried to run into that you haven't been able to get that meeting with, that's there. The flip side of that is Jam is a really great opportunity to thank staff and employees.
Okay.
So we have a lot of companies in town that will come in and buy 50 general admission tickets. And, lesson learned, only give them 1 days.
Okay.
Because then everyone isn't taking all 3 days off. Oh. So, and when you do a big ticket buy like that, the really nice thing is those tickets are non-day specific. If you buy a ticket on our website, you have to tell us what day you're going for general admission. But if you want to come in and do a bulk ticket buy and say, I'm going to buy 50 tickets and we're going to use them as raffles or incentives with our employees, that goes a really, really, really long way.
Sure.
And people love it. They can use those tickets however they want, and we do have those types of things available as well. But yeah, it is definitely a who's who of Eau Claire in our VIP section. There's no question.
That's nice. So who are some of the talent coming this summer?
Yeah, well, our biggest name, of course, is Tim McGraw. And we actually am very excited because it's been rumored for years and years and years that Tim and Faith met at Jam.
Oh.
And we've all talked about it, and we're like, is it like just an old wives' tale, or did it actually happen? And we do what's called a video liner, and the artist is like, hey, I'm Tim McGraw. I can't wait to see you in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And we just got Tim's yesterday, and spoiler alert, he does the whole like liner, and then he goes, Eau Claire's pretty special place for Faith and I. And that's all he said. I was like,
Oh my gosh.
it's true. And, and again, so I sent it to our agent this morning, and I said, well, I guess it's confirmed. And he emailed back. He's third generation in the agency. And he said, I'm pretty sure my dad watched it happen. I know. And that's, again, we've heard it for years, but I wasn't there and I didn't see it with my own eyes. But yeah, so McGraw is huge. And McGraw's been in this business for 25 years.
Yeah.
1994 was our first Tim McGraw, and here he is back on top of the world. And but mixing in all the other things too. So we've got Whiskey Myers, which is this whole like surgence of Americana.
Okay.
And very much more, they're just Americana. They're not like bro country where they're singing about, tan lines and tailgates and things like that. I mean, I love me some tan lines and tailgates, but they're just a totally different vibe than we've really had in a long time. And they actually work really well with McGraw because they play a lot on the Yellowstone series. And obviously Tim McGraw is John Dutton in 1883. And so
he's aged well.
He has aged
really
well.
Well.
Yeah, I know. He's aged really well. I wish I could say the same. But Dierks Bentley is just, he's going to be fantastic. Chris Jansen, he was here a couple years ago, and he blew the roof off the stage. He's going to be great. Our friends Low Cash are going to be back. And we have some really great new artists coming in. Priscilla Block. I mean, that girl is just a walking train wreck. And so I can't wait to see her on stage. I mean, I truly can't. We were trying to describe her this morning. And she was doing a video the other day where she was talking about something. And she had like a can of beer and her hair extensions were in her mouth. And she was like combing her hair. I mean, who does that? I mean, she's fantastic. And some great young talent that's coming in. So, we love that. We always pride ourselves in the fact that we always say we raised Kenny Chesney from a puppy because we had him, he played at noon on our stage and he's headlined our stage. So,
gosh.
These artists that you had never even heard of, I have a memory of Dierks Bentley when he was at our Colorado festival one year driving around on the four-wheeler, and he kept going up to groups of people and asking them who was playing that day. And when they finally said Dierks Bentley, he's like, hey, is that guy any good? Because people didn't even know who he was.
Oh, my gosh.
And, now he's been headlining for years. So,
wow.
Yeah. So we love that. And we love that we can introduce those people, our crowd, to those people. So our jammers that have been around a long time, they'll look at, God, do you remember the lineup from 2002? Can you believe how great it was? I'm like, yeah, but, again, well, Kenny wasn't a puppy in 2002, but those artists that are young, when you see them in that 12 o'clock spot, they're like, you had Keith Urban and Luke Bryan on the same night. I'm like, yeah, because nobody knew who Luke Bryan was.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So who, probably not a fair question, but who's been your favorite act? And who's the act you want to get here before you retire?
Oh, boy. Are you asking me or the company?
Well, either way.
I certainly have my favorites that I enjoy working with a ton. And most of them are 90s just because we've been friends over the years.
Sure.
I love working with Sawyer Brown. I love working with Phil Vassar. They're a joy every time they're here. They're easy. They're not high maintenance. And, I have some bucket lists too.
Sure.
And, I would love for us to do the Dixie or the Chicks. I would love to have the Chicks. Garth is on, we'll never get Garth, but, George Strait was huge. When we had George Strait, that was a big day. We had Bon Jovi in 2007, and that was a day that, I woke up shaking. Like I was so nervous that John Bon Jovi was going to be here. And that was so cool. And they were probably one of the easiest and kindest acts that we've ever worked with.
Nice.
Yeah, they were great. Chris Ledoux over the years has been unbelievable to work with. He's passed away now, but most of country is pretty easy.
Okay.
They're not high maintenance, and everyone always asks, do they really want green M&Ms? Like, well, they can ask, but they're not getting them. And they're like, well, we need this kind of transportation. I'm like, well, I have a 2016 Suburban. That's what you're getting. So, country is really easy. And one of the really cool things about being in the festival business, I think, is that, artists are very rarely in the same city on the same day.
Okay.
So, for example, last year we had Dustin Lynch, who filmed a music video for his new single at Country Jam in its entirety.
Saw that.
And when he got there, he's really good friends with Chris Lane, who was one of our earlier artists. So to see those two kind of walk
Wow.
up and be like, oh my gosh, and actually like their fist bump is in the video because they're never in the same city
Sure.
on the same day. So to be able to just sit back there hanging out, they're having lunch together, playing bean bags, they'll co-write on the bus. That's really cool too.
Yeah. I've always enjoyed over the year bringing friends to George Strait concert. And they're getting so hyped to stand and start screaming. He comes out and sits and plays the guitar. And they look at me, they're like, this is it. I said, just shut up and listen.
Just listen.
I mean, this is, so, and they look and they walk away from it like, that's got to be one of the best concerts I've ever been. I said, you don't always need everybody jumping from the roof and swinging and doing all of this stuff. It comes back to the music.
Yeah. And I'm a production girl. Like, I like things that blow up and, when there's things. But you're right. I mean, sometimes I remember the first time we had Alan Jackson, I was like, oh, snooze fest. That was awful. And then the next time we had him, I just was in the mood.
Yeah.
And I was like, I stood on stage and just cried.
Yeah.
Like his voice was so pure and the music was so simple. I don't want to make it sound like he's simple, but he's true country.
It is. It's again, if you just simply close your eyes and listen to the music, it is very powerful.
Yes. And to take the time to do that is a gift. And so,
yes. Very much.
We love it. And we love it. It's so great. Yeah. No, we're please, keep following us and watching what we're doing because we're really proud of what we're building, obviously for ourselves, but more so for our city. And we're excited to just see what's next. So if you have something you're involved in, I just saw the other day, Appleton hosted the National Axe Throwing Championships. Like, I didn't even know it was a thing. So if you happen to be a national axe thrower, give us a call.
We need to get Benny Anderson on that.
I know. So, any ideas or things that you've been to, reach out and let us know because we would love to bring that here. And we're often just not on those event planners' radars because we haven't had the space before. So,
well, and that's, someone asked me the other day, again, that you've been dealing with part of the convention for years. When are they going to build a convention center? And then the next question usually is, well, how many don't come? And I'm like, well, they stopped calling a long time ago because so it's hard to identify that. But so again, the point of people, if you know something, certainly reach out and again, website and phone number to find you.
Yeah, so countryjamwi.com, and we do answer the phone at 715-839-7500, and that is something that we are really, really proud of. Like, if you want to come and experience our festival, just call us. We'll tell you everything you need to know. You can go on the website and you can navigate the ticketing system and you can do all of that. And if you don't like to talk on the phone, we do have like an info address, or you can ping us on social. But we aren't Ticketmaster. Like, we answer the phones.
Thank God.
Show up. If you have questions, we're here for you. You could walk in the office and have a conversation with us. We'd love that. So.
Okay, and I'm assuming on the website is information about how to book a wedding or all those different things,
That's
or should they
in process?
Okay,
yes,
all right.
Yep. So
okay.
if you're interested in a wedding, you can just info@countryjamwi.com, and we'll get you connected with the people that can help you with that.
Okay.
So we're hoping to have some more renderings and everything in the next couple weeks, but it's going to be beautiful.
Nice, wonderful. So. Well, thank you very much, dear. It's always a pleasure seeing you and spending some time and learning about what's going on in your world.
Yes,
and,
thank you.
The connections you have. Again, I would just reiterate what you said earlier of, the asset of just being in business is those connections, of just understanding how important and easier it makes if you know people versus, again, having to pick up a phone book and have to try and find people at times. So
or use the Google.
Yeah, well, yeah. And unfortunately, as everybody knows, I'm losing what I call my Siri, Phil. It's you talk about somebody that knows everything. So, but again, want to thank our guests today and our audience for being here, and of course all of our sponsors. And stay tuned for episode 15 coming up right around the corner.